Hello, welcome to another edition of Issues with Jide. Here we talk about actions and inactions of those who shape our national landscape and how these impact us positively or otherwise. I'm Ibrahim Shita. Today on the show, it's been 1 year after the EndSARS protest. We'll be talking or looking at the gains, losses, and lessons learned. Also on the show, court refuses to transfer Nnamdi Kanu to Kuje prisons. This is one big story we can't shy away from. In the course of the program, we'll take your questions, but first, subscribe to our YouTube channel and drop your questions in the comment section. I have joined me via Zoom, the maestro himself, Babajide Kolade-Otitoju. Thank you so much for joining us, BKO.
Yeah, thank you for another day on Issues with Jide.
Absolutely. So let's start by looking at the EndSARS. A year ago this month, the EndSARS protest erupted in major cities across Nigeria, sparked by many reported cases of police brutality. Let's look at the gains. Did these protests achieve its objectives?
Yeah, I think that the gains can be looked at in various ways. For the first time, we saw Nigerian youths come together in tremendous numbers, and they had one goal: to speak in one voice against police brutality, torture, extortion, and general mistreatment by policemen who are paid from taxpayers' money to protect the citizenry. But over the years, there had been repeated killing of people, extrajudicial killings by the police who turned themselves both to the prosecutor and the judge. Many people had been killed in police many people get harassed. Many people for merely taken to police station. So the people just felt that, look, enough was enough. And the young people came together, mobilized themselves in the patterns, their struggle after what we had seen in Hong Kong, because the protesters in Hong Kong had no central leadership. And that was the format that our young men and women also adopted here. No central leadership. And the reason they didn't want a central leadership was to make it difficult for government to penetrate the group and to make a compromise difficult. So that was why they didn't want a central leadership. There is no go-to person, but there are a number of people who play different roles in mobilizing young people to protest. And they made food available, they made medicines available, they made ambulances available. In terms of the organization, it was unheard of in the history of our country. For the first time, a lot of us felt, look, the young people had drawn attention to themselves in a very positive way. Everyone wants a police that truly serves the people, not a police that is bent on taking lives at the slightest opportunity. So the protests were necessary, and I will tell you that gains were recorded, because one of the things that the people wanted, the young people wanted, was for Sars, the anti-riot squad of the police, to be disbanded, because it was bursting at the seams with cruel-minded individuals who have no business being in the police. So that goal was achieved. They also wanted the members of SARS profiled before they will be redeployed to another group. We saw that the police took steps to do that, because they were all told to come down to Abuja, and those ex-SARS members were subjected to some level of screening. they also recorded an achievement in that area. They also wanted immediate release of their people who were in detention at the time that the protests were on. I recall that in Lagos, those detainees were freed. They also wanted compensation for victims of police brutality. Yes, that also was done. So it was the agitation, the demand, and the protest that the youths carried out that led government, the president, to direct governors across the 36 states of our country to set up panels to investigate police extrajudicial acts, police brutality, and recommend compensation for victims of such police brutality. And we have seen that after 1 year, so many of those states, their panels, the panels that they set up have wound up sitting and people are being compensated. Some states have even gone ahead to pay compensation. Some states have, some of the panels have recommended huge compensations that will be difficult for the states themselves to raise the funds, except they are supported by the federal government or the president, who in any case directed them to set up those panels. So gains were made. I think that SARS could be banned is even the biggest achievement recorded by the group. And today, whether anybody likes it or not, the young people of Nigeria have spoken against police brutality.
Right.
Police brutality will no longer go unchallenged. Yes.
Yeah. Mikhail, let me quickly jump in. Because of our time. There is this structural problem of the fact that the police force is heavily centralized. What kind of reforms would you like to see in the Nigerian police force?
I want to see a number of reforms in the police, starting with recruitment. There is no success that we can record in terms of changing the attitudinal disposition of the police and getting the police to be responsible to the civil populace, unless we do something about the recruitment module. The recruitment module will never give us the police that we want. All kinds of never-do-wells, people cannot succeed at any other trade or at any other job, are now being recruited into the police. Politicians see the police as a dumping ground for their thugs who have served them for years. Eventually, they help them to get into the police. So we have to do something about recruitment. We've got to do something about punishment, the way erring policemen are punished. There has to be a structure in place that ensures that when a policeman misbehaves, he does not get away with it. He has to serve the punishment. There has to be sufficient funding. As we try to restructure the police, we must address the issue of funding. Funding has to be at the core of even the restructuring that we are talking about. How do we ensure that the police has access to sufficient funds, not just to buy its equipment, but to even buy the kits that they wear? Because a lot of these policemen claim that they even buy their uniforms and their boots by themselves. You are not going to achieve the police of your dream when the policemen are abandoned, their welfare is not taken care of.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they visit the anger on you and I on our streets. So there's a whole lot that we can do talking about the central policing structure that we have. I agree that we have reached that point, and Nigeria is expanding as a country. Where the population growth has stripped economic growth. by way of percentage. And we've got to decentralize the police, go for state policing, because even that state policing is already being implemented in many of our states. By the only thing they've done is to simply give those
and other names. Yeah.
This and that. In fact, even the governors of the Northwest, they are recruiting young people that will complement the police in their policing duties. So
absolutely,
I believe that Nigeria is ripe for state police. We are such a vast country. We are too big for the current policing structure to succeed. So we need, and our policemen are simply not enough. We don't have up to 500,000 police in our country. So the civil populace police for Nigeria is the lowest in the world. We've got to recruit more policemen.
Right, BK, we'll definitely get back to the issue of the EndSARS, as a lot of our viewers are already, dropping their messages, their questions and all that. But let's change tack by looking at the recent developments about Nnamdi Kanu. The federal government has reviewed a damning terrorism report blaming Nnamdi Kanu and IPOB for the attacks on INEC offices and that responsible for the destruction of lives and property in the southeast. This is coming after the court refuses to transfer Nnamdi Kanu to Kuje prisons. What's the implication of this for Kanu?
The moment he was arrested, he knew that he had to face the consequences. And he has a team of lawyers, and he has confidence in his lawyers. In fact, he came out the other day, he warned his people not to insult his lawyers. He said, anyone who insults my lawyers is my enemy. I have absolute faith in my lawyer, so no one should insult my lawyer. So Kanu is prepared, very much prepared for his trial. He set up a defense team to defend him against the allegations that the Nigerian state has come up with. So it's up to him. For a man who has done all that he has done to draw attention to marginalization in the East, to say some of the things that he has said. And I have no evidence that he has regretted anything that he said. So he has to be prepared to defend himself in court. And he was in court on Thursday, and he said that he was not guilty. The amended charge was read to him in court, and he said he was not guilty. He pleaded not guilty. So he's ready for whatever is thrown at him by the way of this trial. He's ready, and his lawyers are ready. So I've read some of the allegations against him, and some of those allegations are really, really damning. But we are not lawyers. Lawyers have their way of addressing things like this, and I'm sure that Kanu's lawyers will be up for it. And don't forget, he's also getting some level of support from the British government. The British government sent an envoy to witness his day